Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another NTLkrayZ Shoutcast. I'm your host, NTLkrayZ. Today's match is between the blue Protoss player, White Raw, and the red Terran player, Strelok. Let's get things started. The map for today will be Scrap Station, as the red Terran player, Strelok, spawns in the northern spawn point, while the blue White Raw spawns in the southern. This will be one of the more entertaining maps you shall see today, and the reason being because of these rocks, ladies and gentlemen. When these rocks are destroyed, the rush distance between the two bases is shortened greatly, because instead of going that way, you have to go this way unless you destroy the rocks. That is going to be key. Expect lots of air on this map because of the short air distance. There is an island expansion up on the north that the Terran can exploit if given the opportunity. We do look like we are going to have a 9 racks here, and a 10 supply depot. That is my bad, ladies and gentlemen. I should learn the difference between a supply depot and a barracks, apparently. And we do have a gateway and a pylon down for White Raw as well. Yes, I know it says Duckload Raw. This is White Raw. In fact, Duckload is his sponsor. It does look like the barracks and the gateway are about even, but because of the rush distance, I wouldn't expect rushes. They're not as effective as they are on other maps on this one, again, just because of the extremely long rush distance. We do see a couple scouts going as they run by. It does look like the Terran SCV did take 5 points of damage, as a lot of the Protoss players will just attack move their probe into his opponent's base. It does look like there's going to be a Marine coming out, and the probe will see that there is a Marine because of the flashing lights. Whenever you see a Terran building flashing, it generally means that they are either researching something or they are building something. Another thing to note is that when there's a tech lab, I believe it's if there's a tech unit that involves that tech log will be spinning. It does look like we have a zealot early out, very, very early, and it's going to be able to ward away this SCV as it gets away with only 8 hit points, ladies and gentlemen. It does look like 2 Marines are quickly able to make short work of that probe, as it does look like we might see a small push coming from Strelok. The only problem is Marines do not stand that much of a chance against the Zealot. He is going to use the micro of attack move here to try and get him. He does split his forces up, very nicely done. He is able to get another volley, but nothing to actually damage the Zealot itself, as it has 50 shields and 100 life. None of the life was damaged. It does look like we have another Zealot coming down here. Maybe a bad rally point, or just scouting out to make sure there's no proxy barracks. We are going to see Reapers, which is an interesting choice, because Reapers usually do not come out on this map, mostly because you can hop up here, but to get there you have to go through this base, or you have to hop up here, and it just takes forever for the Reapers to actually get there. It is going to, on the other hand, go down here, make sure there's no fast gold expansion. Very nicely done. Going back up to our Protoss player here, it does look like he does have a cybernetics core, as we see a robotic facility coming down right now, and we shall quickly see an observer come out, which is the best scouting unit in the game because it is cloaked and a detector. Does look like we have the Reaper finally coming in. He might get 1 kill. He does have 1 kill, so not quite enough to pay for itself, as where's that Stalker? The stalker is nowhere to be found. Is there even a stalker out? Was I just imagining? There is a stalker, and it's right here. It's trying to cut off a thing. Can the Reaper get one more kill, as it does have 50 life, as it is faster than... does get 2 kills? That is very close to paying for itself, as those were probably both probe kills. We do have an observer coming out, so we will be able to see how much we will get of the scouting. It does look like the tech lab is in use, as we do have a barracks coming down. We do have an expansion for Strelok, so an early expansion coming from the Terran player. Although he did give up many probes, he cut a lot of probes to do that. We do have another Marauder coming out, as they are extremely effective against gateway units, and they counter just about every gateway unit out there. Food for food, mineral for mineral. The game is kind of slow currently because we are in what's called a macro phase. If you don't know the different terms, micro is the individual moving of units, such as when White Raw was trying to get rid of the Reaper that was in his base, while macro is when he's building units like just there when he was bringing in those Zealots. Does look like we have an Immortal drop with a couple Zealots. Very nicely done using the Warp Prism. The Immortal does have 2 kills. The Zealots have 0 and 2, so that's not bad. Does look like the Marines are able to get in there and quickly ward away any dangerous activities. We do have Warp Gate technology up for the Protoss. Very important for them to have, as an expansion is going down for White Rock currently. The Observer still is getting extremely good view looking at this Marine Marauder heavy. Looks to be like it will be going into a triple M. Yes, that is indeed what we will be seeing, as we will be looking at 2 medvacs popping out of here, as there's no other reason to do that as of yet, as his opponent has not gone air. It does look like we're going to have a robotics facility, so we might be seeing some Colossus. The only problem is it's extremely easy for the Terran to switch to what I like to call the MMV, or Marine Marauder Viking, which is an extremely good counter against the Colossus. I would expect to see a Templar excuse me while I look this up, this is embarrassing. A Twilight Council is what I meant to say. Wow, that was way too hard, as the Templar Archives would be next. Does look like we have a scouting barracks. Looked to try and do a little bit of a Hellion harass, but it is going to quickly be warded away from these units. Does look like we will be seeing another Zealot drop, mostly just for harassment's sake, to try and maybe annoy the opponent, keep him off his toes, as it does look like he's a little far out. And do we have any immediate response? It does look like he's just going to be responding with SCVs. And that's not quite what you want, as these Zealots are getting plenty of kills. Very nicely done. The drop was an extremely effective drop, as we can now see it's dropped down to 30 SCVs instead of 42. Do remember that there is an expansion here, so his income shouldn't take too much of a hit. Although he is right now sitting at about half. He is cutting down this rush distance, which could provide very useful, as his reinforcements will be able to come much quicker. One thing to note is when you're attacking, your opponent's reinforcements come at an extremely accelerated rate compared to yours. He will be able to reinforce almost immediately, while you have to spend the time. So getting rid of these right before a push is key, although it is being spotted by White Raw. We do have a floating factor here, maybe going to come in, try and get some more, and we do have a retaliation drop. I don't know exactly how much damage. Looking here, doesn't look like it did all that much. The battle comes in. We do have 2 Colossus on the field, ladies and gentlemen. Do they have the thermal extance? No, it is almost done, which will be huge because they will be able to hit. Very nicely done, marking that unit with 2 shields left, no hull damage whatsoever. Is he going to be able to save this expansion? I'm not so sure, ladies and gentlemen, as there are tons of probes falling. Can Strelok snipe this expansion? It looks like he's going to go for the probes instead. I think that was a wise choice, as it was very obvious he could not get the Nexus itself, but he can get rid of quite a few of those of these probes. It does look like there's oversaturation with these probes. Players, this is not exactly what you want, as he Maynards some right back. We do have 2 robotics facilities down for our Protoss player, as it looks like that is from the original drop. It may have gone in to try and do some more damage. Looking at the Harvesters, we have 41 over 33. That was an extremely effective push. Looking at the Army tab, we are sitting about even, ladies and gentlemen. Going to the unit tab, which is what I really care about, ladies and gentlemen, and the reason why is because you can see the unit composition. We have a couple Colossus out, which are going to tear apart this Marine Marauder build. We do have Vikings, which are the hard counter to Colossus. There is a couple anti-air, but I'm just not sure there's enough. Way too many. Very nicely done, pulling his ground forces back, letting his buildings tank some of the damage, while his Vikings try and pick off as many of these Colossus as he can get. It looks like he's gonna get 2. Can he drop his units in time? He does get the warp prison just as units are being warped in. That is key. I do believe you get the minerals back, but the key part is those resources are not going to be coming back in. All 3 Colossus are down, as it's Marauders versus an Immortal, a Sentry, a Stalker, and about 3 Zealots. The SCVs are pulled off the line to try and deal with this, ladies and gentlemen. It does look like Strelok is going to be able to hold this off. Going back to the probe count, looks like the probe and SCV count have evened out. We have 1 Colossus out for the mighty White Raws. It's coming around here, trying to hit this expansion while nothing's down here. He might get a few things, but there's a Viking sitting right there, which is going to ward this away. Looking at the kills that this Colossus has, it does have 2. Make that 7. Alright, enough to warrant it being there, I think, ladies and gentlemen. All the way, nice. Stim comes in. How many is he going to be able to get? He does not get any of the main kills. It does look like we're going to be having high mobility, using the dropships, trying to go in for a drop in the back, which could be extremely effective, ladies and gentlemen. Taking out some key pylons might be enough. Although White Raw has some extremely good pylon placement, as you can see, there's just about nothing that does not have 2 pylons. It does look like we have a drop, ladies and gentlemen. There is a Colossus in the mix, racking up 2 kills, ladies and gentlemen. 3 kills. He needs very, very nice. It does look like more SCVs are being pulled off the line. Can Strelok pull out a win? Could this be the end? No, it does look like he's able to hold them off, as there's just too many units, and that Colossus is just too effective. It does look like we're going to be going for a drop. A fake out! Strelok fakes pulling his units out, and is going to re-drop them, ladies and gentlemen. I do not think these Zealots stand a chance. We're going for a base race, although this base race does not look all that effective, as there are units here to try and deal with it. Although the Colossus is still alive, there are Marauders which are going to be able to deal. And going back to White Raw's base, it does look like another Colossus was able to morph in. But, unfortunately, there are just too many Marauders, ladies and gentlemen. This Nexus will go down. It does look like we have some idle SCVs and a couple Zealots down here, but unfortunately, I do not think that's going to be enough. Chrono boosting a Colossus in. Again, I really do not think that's going to be that much of a difference. The Nexus did go down, ladies and gentlemen, although that's not too bad, as we are mostly mined out here. Looking at the main bases, both main bases are about evenly mined out. Looking at the income from Strelok is much far ahead. Even though this is almost mined out, he can still get the resources he needs. Does look like he is almost supply capped, going to keep himself from getting there. Nicely done. For all you beginner players out there, I would like you to look at their minerals. Even about 18 minutes into this game, both players have been keeping their minerals extremely low, as well as their gas. This is a sign of a good player who is able to continue the macro and continue the micro. As soon as they finish a battle, or as soon as they can leave the battle, they immediately go back to base to macro up more forces. Very nicely done. Very well played. We do have a Marauder coming down here. For some reason, he decides to be a loner and doesn't like to be with the rest of his units here. Going to the Army tab, it extremely favors Strelok. This, ladies and gentlemen, looks like this could very well be the final push, as we have Mass Viking, Mass Marauder coming in. The Vikings are almost enough to one-shot Colossus. It's going to take 3 volleys of each. Does look like that one went down. Another Colossus does look like it's going to go down. Well, there's the GG from White Raw. Strelok is able to take this matchup 2 games to 1. I hope you enjoyed this 3-part series. best of 3 match between Strelok and White Raw. Again, I am your host, NTLkrayZ, signing out.